Okay, guys. So, wanted to do a video here to kind of show you a little bit more about the holsters, and this is going to kind of go along with Bill Drill's video also. So, if you've not subscribed to his channel, look up Bill Drill. He does a lot of really good videos. Anyway, so the way we kind of got started on this is, well, I wanted to be able to make my own holsters. I wanted a holster that had a built-in wing, something that wasn't going to break or put a bunch of like weird bending pressure on my holster. I have had all of the holsters break that I've used a bolt-on wing with. They all developed a crack right in here, so I was trying to get away from that. My theory, I don't know if it's gonna, hold true over long-term use, but my theory is, as that holster goes in, it allows the kydex to bend a little bit more freely. And so, you can have good tight retention, and as long as that's not putting a weird kind of focused crease on that, I think it should last longer. So that's why I went with kind of this method here. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of a close-up, show you what these holsters look like. These are non-light bearing holsters. It may kind of look like it's set up for a light, but that's just the way that I did the blocking to accommodate for this second clip on here. So give you a little shot of what the clearance is. These are set up for an RMR cut slide. This is a Brownells slide for reference. So my understanding is that their slides that are RMR cut are slightly deeper because they use the post. So I figured this should work for the majority of RMR cut slides. I also have tested this with a factory Glock 45 MOS with a HoloSun 509T and tall night sights to accommodate that 509T, and didn't have any clearance issues with that. So it should work fine with regular Glock MOS slides. But just to give you a little idea, there's the trigger guard coverage, kind of, I do feel that this is very, adequate coverage for the trigger guard. Nothing's gonna get in there. I do leave a little bit over that mag release. I'm using 093 kydex, so it's pretty darn thick. I've pushed this up against workbenches and stuff with all my weight, and I cannot get the magazine button to actuate at all. So you shouldn't have any problems there. It is a fixed retention holster, and it's going to ship with a monoblock. It's going to ship with the monoblock, and I'm going to put in an extra set of these screws and nuts, so you can just source your own DCC Mod 4 1.5 inch clips. They're the slotted clips, the ones that have the elongated cuts going parallel to the length of the clip right in the middle. And you'll be able to use those, for maybe a little bit more cant adjustment if you need that. You can move this back and forth. There is a little bit of room because I don't use a rubber washer and a traditional, threaded post. I just use square nuts that kind of fit into the recesses in this blocking. They should kind of catch, so you shouldn't need to put tools on them. They shouldn't, seize up on you like those threaded posts can do if you tighten them down too tight. And that also allows for this clip to get pretty tight up against the holster. with other holsters that I've used that use those rubber washers, your belt and pants can kind of ride up into that, and it gives a little bit longer space there for your belt to sit in, and so I got a little bit more tilt. It didn't sit as stable in the holster, but this is working out pretty well for me, at least. You will get a little bit of movement. Sometimes that can be a good thing if you're riding in cars and sitting a lot. That holster can kind of cant with your body if you need it to. But that's how it's going to be set up. And if you need better stability, you can use those DCC clips. I molded in the wing like this. I wanted it to stick off to the side more than having the belt tuck or the grip tuck feature being right on top of the trigger guard, because I think that gives more leverage to it, and it can tuck your grip in better without having to wear as stiff of a belt. Because remember, guys, if your grip tuck feature is right on the trigger guard, it's relying more on the stiffness of your belt to not want to conform to that shape, right? It's relying more on that than it is to go along. Well, I should say it's relying on that also to go along with belt tension, right? So my thought was having this spaced out wider gives you a longer lever there, so it takes less force to tuck the grip in. I don't find that I have to have my belt real tight at all. My thought was I want the gun to just be able to kind of more or less hang in position on the belt and let the wedge in the wing do the work, not rely so much on belt tension. And, this has worked out pretty well. I don't get the, like the sore spots around where my belt sits on my waist anymore, because I don't use a super stiff belt, and I don't use it very, I don't have my belt very tight. I'm using a Wilderness Tactical Swift belt right now that's just the 3-stitch, I believe. It's like the most flexible belt, and I've had good luck with that. Anyway, I'll show you this real quick for reference. This is going to be hardware in case you need to source hardware if you break a screw or a nut. I am just not able to offer a warranty on hardware right now. I'm using readily available screws and nuts. I'm using as little hardware as possible, right? So, I feel like you can get to a hardware store or get something off of Amazon if you need to. I buy my hardware from holstersmith.com, and I'm not trying to mark up or make any money on hardware. So this is a list of the screws. The flat top screws are the ones that hold the clip on here, and the little bit longer truss head screw is that one's this single screw for retention here. So, and then the 832 size square nut, 832 is the size of your hole and the thread pattern. And then I get those square nuts from just my local farm and home store. You can buy them off of Amazon. They are about 0.34 inches wide. So if you can, that's what you're going to want to look for if you're looking up the actual outer, diameter of the nut. But you can measure that too if you're, needing. They're all the same nut. So like if you would break one or whatever, just go that route. I thought, I'm trying to make these cost effective for people, and the more hardware I got to stock and source and everything, that just makes the price of the holster go up. That's why one of the reasons why I'm shipping them with a monoblock is it's a really good quality clip, and it's cost effective, and it's readily available. You can get these anywhere, and if you're buying a DCC if you're buying a DCC clip, it's going to be a good quality clip. So, pardon my dog over there. She's wanting out. Hold on. Okay, so sorry about that. So we've talked about clips, hardware, warranty. Like I said, I'm just not able to warranty screws, just the, stocking extra screws to allow for that, and then shipping them back and forth. It's going to cost a lot just to ship screws and clips for what they are. So if you break a screw, you're going to have to source your own. I have never broken a screw or a nut. I'm sure it can happen. The more you're messing with this, they can get stripped out a little bit, but they do last quite a long time. So as far as warranty on the shell, okay, so I want to talk about this. I'm okay with you guys doing some modifications to your holster shell, right? Like, for instance, if you want to, take after this with a Dremel and grind this off, or if you want to shorten your sweat guard, I don't have a problem with that. I will not warranty if guys try to, apply any type of heat to their holster and reshape it or reform it. And I'm not going to warranty any modifications around the retention area or the clip area. If you, like, for instance, if you drill these holes out wider or something, and then you're having problems with your screws loosening up or your clip knots, whatever, if you mess up this area, I'm not going to warranty that, obviously, if you modify that area, So don't modify the retention area. If you want to, say you're carrying a Glock 19 and you want to, trim this area down, or, take some of this off with a Dremel tool so that it's not printing as much. I don't have a problem with that, right? Don't mess with the clip blocking areas, and don't mess with this retention area. Otherwise, I'm fine with that. If the holster cracks out in your retention area, right? Take some pictures, email me, make sure you include your shipping address, and I will ship you a new shell. I'm not going to replace the whole holster. You'll have to reuse your screws in your clip. But if it cracks out and will not retain the firearm safely, I will send you a new shell, and you'll just have to put your screws and clip back on. But I do ask that you take some pictures of it, because if something is, cracking out, if there's a problem, I want to get my process or my mold potentially changed so we're not having issues, right? So that's going to be the warranty. And that is going to be a 5-year warranty. Holsters are wear items. I want this thing to last a long time. I think it will. But I've only had the opportunity to test my personal holster for a year, and it's holding up fine. Retention is going to be kind of tight at first. You're going to feel like it's going to take, bump the camera there. It's going to take a little bit of, deliberate force to break your retention. It will loosen up over time. This Kydex is going to start to take a little bit of a bend. And you can see it's already kind of starting to on this relatively brand new holster. I've been kind of, breaking retention and playing with it to make sure that the retention is fine. So, okay, so models. Let's do models. These are going to come in 2 holsters. I've got 2 different models of holsters here. One for slim frame Glocks. So your 43, your 43X, and your 48 MOS models, right? They're optic cut. They have space provided for the rail on your slim frame models. The other one is going to be a Glock 17 length holster. You can kind of see it is an open-ended holster, so you should, if you want to carry this with like a 34 or a 17L, there's no reason why that wouldn't work. You should be able to do that. It's just going to stick out the bottom of the holster. Gen 1 through 4, 9mm and 40 caliber double stack Glocks with standard slide releases. See, this does not have any capability for like the CAGWorks, high slide releases. And Gen 5 9mm double stack Glocks. This will not fit the Gen 5 40 caliber Glocks. If you've got one of those, that's their Glock made those slides and frames a little thicker, is my understanding. I have not had the opportunity to test that, so I don't know, but the mold is specifically not designed for Gen 5 40 caliber Glocks. The wedge here, obviously you see it's got a molded in wedge. The wedge, measuring down here, it's going to be around this dimension is going to be about 2 1/4 inches wide, and as you can see, it does kind of hang off. It is a little wider than the top of the slide here, and obviously it sticks down below the slide here. I wanted a wide wedge so it doesn't push into your body as much, right? I wanted to space out that pressure. So it's about 2 1/4 inches wide right here at the top, and then it is also about 0.9 inches thick this way, and that's going to be pretty much the same on both holsters there, right? So that's the idea, a wide wedge spacing out that pressure so it doesn't push into your body as much. Now, the thickness of the slide, or the thickness of the wedge, kind of has to do with wanting to, imagine a straight line running up through your gun to the top opposite corner of your slide. That's kind of how I, designed that, or that was my thinking, right? Also, I have very little of the wedge actually even or, at the same height as your belt. I didn't want to add any width to the holster right at the belt line, right? I wanted to reduce width at the belt line as much as possible. And that's also why I like the monoblock, because your belt is riding right up against the holster. If you do use clips, right, those clips are going to push the belt out away from the holster ever so slightly, right? Not much, maybe a little bit, and with time they'll probably bend in. But, that is something to consider. So I'll let you guys kind of try to get you a good close-up look of that. One other thing. Do be careful, guys. I will not warranty if you guys try drilling extra holes, if you want to move this down. I don't think you'll probably, need to move the clips any farther down with this, but do that at your own risk. If you, put a screw way out, or, if you drill a hole and your bit walks and you end up with a hole that's not centered up, that's going to be on you guys. But yeah, the wing, from my experience, it's pretty darn strong, okay, so I'm pulling on it pretty hard, and it's a pretty durable wing. It is slanted a little bit to kind of try to make it easier to slide into your belt. The wings are, slightly different on the two holsters, but basically, they're kind of just the same general shape. So I'll just kind of hold up, get you some kind of close-ups of the 48, or the slim frame model of holster, right? Kind of looking over my notes here. So kind of showed everything kind of to go along with those. This is kind of more of a closed ended holster. And guys, that's just simply because that's how my mold is shaped. I source professionally made, CNC cut molds, and then I modify those molds to get this shape, obviously, as you can tell. So there's that. And again, I'm going to just show this one more time. This is going to include shipping and any sales tax that needs to be charged too. So that is included in the price. So I think for the features that you're getting, it is a very fair price. All right, guys. So again, these are the two models that are kind of ready to go and developed at this point. Enigma compatibility. I'm not sure if Bill will get into this too much, but he is using this double stack holster with the light bearing Enigma. He has one of the original Tegris plates, but my understanding is the newer face plates are the same dimension and everything, just a little bit thicker material. I have tested fit with this with a new Gen 2 open source non-light bearing Enigma, and while it does work for me, because you have to move this, the plate over to fit right here, you are going to have a little bit more of a curve starting in here. So you may run into, some interference slightly with your grip, depending on how you have the cant and stuff set up there. You can kind of cant that faceplate to compensate for that. So be aware of that. Bill said that the light bearing Enigma actually works and fits pretty well. We kind of worked together, and he helped me measure to set that up. So that may actually end up being your better option. The two are set up, the clip spacing and everything on the two holsters is, set up pretty much identically as far as the height away. So that may be a better option if you are looking for Enigma use with the holster. Bill said he's been using his light bearing Enigma on this holster, and I think he said he went and lifted weights with it the other day, maybe even went to the gym or something. I don't remember, but he said it works pretty well. He was using one of the big Velcro on pillow, cotton filled Cordura type wedges, and so he was using something that was pretty soft and squishy. He had said that those do kind of get to smush over time, so you kind of have to keep up with them and refill them or fluff back up the cotton or whatever, the fill inside of them. But he said this is actually turning out to be pretty comfortable, and he said he likes it. So my theory on why I wanted this built-in Kydex wedge was that, Kydex is relatively smooth, right? I've even, taken a little sandpaper and sanded this down if this texture bothers you. But my theory is that this Kydex can kind of, slide back and forth on your undergarments as you move throughout the day. And that's something that I was not able, at the time at least, to find in, using, Yoga Block or a lot of the other stuff. It would rub on my body and got to be pretty uncomfortable. So that's why I went to this, and I don't really have that problem, guys. So, anyway, those are the holsters, guys. At this time, I've got a lot going on with my main job right now. I don't have a website set up. I am looking into that. I would obviously like to do that, but that is the way we're going to do it right now. If you're interested, shoot me an email there that you can see at the top, And I'm taking Venmo as a payment option right now. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Yeah, put any questions down below, and I'll try to answer those questions as best I can. Thanks, guys.